So, hi everybody, thank you for joining us this evening. Welcome to the next instalment of EWiF Inspires Conversations. I'm Helen Mansfield, the MD of EWiF, and tonight we have a very special treat for you. As you can see, I'm not just interviewing one lovely lady, tonight we have two. So this is Vicky Matthews and Caroline Gowing, the franchisors of Pink Spaghetti. Hi ladies.
Hello.
Caroline and Vicky founded Pink Spaghetti in 2009, offering virtual PA services to help in both business and domestic settings. 3 years later, they found themselves reaching capacity and realised that franchising could be a way to continue servicing the demand. Since launching the franchise in 2012, they have grown to over 50 franchise locations in the UK and have also expanded internationally. Their growth and hard work has been recognised by the Best Franchise Awards, as they've been finalists in the business to business category for the last 3 years. And earlier this year, they were ranked at number 51 in Elite Franchise's top 100 franchises. And they are managing to keep their franchisees happy as well, because they've gained 5-star franchisee satisfaction status for 5 consecutive years. So you guys have been busy. Well, are you both?
Yeah, it sounds a lot when you say it all like that, doesn't it?
I feel like I do that introduction every morning.
Like to big you up, you know?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me. It's really, really lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So firstly, I just want to ask, where does the name Pink Spaghetti come from?
So we get asked this so many times, and it's actually one of our best decisions, I think. So when we were setting up the business, we didn't want to be something like Cheshire PA Services, which actually, with hindsight, when franchising was obviously a very good job. We wanted something that was a bit different, and we met through our eldest daughters, who at the time, they were only tiny, they were sort of under 1. They both loved spaghetti, and we thought, oh, well, this is perfect. It's a tangled mess in people's lives that we're sorting out. But then it also sounded like we were going to be doing Italian food, which clearly we weren't. So we thought, well, okay, what do a lot of big brands do? They put a colour in their name, and having 2 girls, their favourite colour at the time was pink. And so we put the 2 together, and Pink Spaghetti was born. And it's been one of our best decisions, because it is such a memorable name. Yeah. Even if people don't know what we do, they remember the name. So it's been brilliant for our franchise network, for when they've gone out and networked with people. People go, oh gosh, yes, I've seen Pink Spaghetti, I've heard of Pink Spaghetti, what do you do? So it always leads into other discussions and conversations, which has been
great, because you don't have to remember email addresses as such, and web addresses and social media accounts. You just need to Google Pink Spaghetti.
Yeah.
So it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to say we really planned it that way, but we didn't.
No. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit then about what Pink Spaghetti do. Just give us a bit of history.
So, Pink Spaghetti, we're there for the time poor people. Although we do business and domestic, we do concentrate mainly on small business, micro business owners, and we typically do the tasks that they don't have time to do, they don't have the inclination to do, or they don't have the knowledge to do. And really, these things fall into these 3 categories. But the tasks that we carry out are many and varied, because our customer base is hugely varied. No 2 days are the same. Even if you're doing a similar task, because for 2 different businesses, they can seem like a very different task indeed.
Absolutely. And do you work with businesses of all different sizes and or people within business?
Yeah, it's amazing the breadth, I think, of businesses that we work with. I mean, typically we say to people that our target customer is that micro business, the sort of 1-2 man band who doesn't want to employ a team of people to support them. Quite often they're customer facing, so they don't have the time to do all the tasks they need to do. Or actually they're just, they've got a real passion for being a florist, or, a coffee shop, they love making coffee, whatever it is. They didn't set their business up to do all those other tasks that you need to do to run a business. And that's where we can come in. But, at the same time, we've got customers who don't fall into that category. We've got, massive customers. One of our biggest customers has got, I think, about 140, 150 employees. But we fill a particular niche. So there is no sort of set, this type of person has to work with us. But typically is that micro business, and there is just so many of them out there now. I think, you know, shopping locally, sort of Small Business Saturday, there's this real sort of resurgence of smaller businesses out there, people who've sort of got that entrepreneurial spirit, who set their business up and just need that extra help that our franchisees can give them.
Yeah, most definitely. It's actually quite interesting. Do you guys work with other franchises at all? Other sort of like...
Yeah,
it works quite well, because often other franchises are typically one-man bands who are customer facing. You know, if you're in doing a children's class, then you are taking that class, that's what you do, but all the back office stuff still needs to be done. And just because you're great with children doesn't mean that you're great at keeping up with your social media and all your administration. So that does actually fit really well.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, good. Okay then, so if you could take us back, you sort of briefly mentioned it in that you guys met, you know, through your eldest daughters, but how did Pink Spaghetti come about? What was going on in both of your lives that sort of, you know, it came together where you started this business?
I guess it was the right time. So we got together and realised that through various conversations that we both had a similar idea. We were both the organisers in our friends and family's lives. It was always us that sorted the meals out, the holidays, doing the research, best prices for utilities. And we both had a similar idea and got talking, and we talked as you do. And I was an IT contractor, and I had a contract that came to an end. And so that was a great opportunity for me. Vicky was working for a major bank and had the chance, whilst on maternity leave, if I remember rightly, Vicky, it was a long time ago, had the chance to take voluntary redundancy. And we had got together at New Year. There was always alcohol involved, isn't there? We got together at New Year's Eve, and during the evening with our husbands, we kind of said, look, we keep talking about this, why don't we actually do it? And we said, right, we will use January to research independently whether we feel it's a goer, a good idea. We went off, did all our research, came back, and we had practically the same ideas of what we would and wouldn't include. And it's one of those, you regret the things that you don't do. So we just said, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll give it a go. Although actually, as any small business owner knows, it doesn't take long until you're actually at a point where you will do anything to make it work. So yeah, Pink Spaghetti was born.
Yeah, wow, what a great New Year's resolution that was, that year.
I think it's strange as well, because I can still remember key conversations, particularly in those first, you know, the conversation around your dining room table on New Year's Eve, you know, conversations sort of 1 month in, 2 months in, going, gosh, you know, where's our first £100 going to come? What are we going to do? How do we answer to this customer query? I can still remember them so clearly. Yeah, you know, it was 11 years ago now.
Yeah. And I think that first sort of 6 months, the support we gave each other, again, like any small business owner, it's a very up and down life. And there are days when one of us would be a sort of, you know, oh gosh, I don't know if this is going to work, or how would I do this? And the other person would buoy them up. And then other days it would be a complete role reversal. But having that relationship and that support was so important to us, and actually one of the reasons we then went and franchised, to be able to give that to other people. We'd never have started this on our own.
Yeah.
So did you take different roles within the business to start with then, or were you kind of both just
joined at the hip?
We were totally joined. We were like ant and dec. Nobody knew which one was which. Everywhere we went.
We were so terrified of going out to networking. We'd never done any sort of small business networking, so we went everywhere together. Total, you know, lack of sort of the time efficiency was rubbish, because actually we were both driving, both going to these places to talk to the same people. But you live and learn these things. And I think it was about a year, maybe a bit longer in.
I think closer to 2 years that we had that conversation. And again, I still remember where we were when we had that conversation about, hang on a minute, can we do something better than this? Because actually, although when I said we were very similar people, we were both the organisers, we thought we were identical. But during working together and learning ourselves about what it takes to run a small business, it turns out that we weren't similar at all. And all the things that we do, if we actually play to our strengths, that's when our business took off. So Vicky is very much better and more comfortable at the networking and talking to people, and I like doing the sort of the dull spreadsheety things in the background and not being seen, and if, you know, if Vicky had to do a spreadsheet and all the financy things, she would take longer and wouldn't love it as much. So by splitting what we did at that point, our business really took off and we loved what we're doing. And we've continued that. We now know if a job comes in or a question comes in, we know exactly who will deal with what. So it's been a real benefit to the business and to our customers.
I think we didn't know, you know, as Caroline said, we didn't know that we had these differences, and actually we've been so fortunate that we have got the differences because they've complemented each other so well that we have been able to build the business up as we have done, because we've both had skills in different areas that we've both been able to contribute and bring back to the business. And sometimes as well, I think it's that sounding board. You know, one of us will come up with an idea, and obviously we bounce the idea off each other. And sometimes it's you need that other person's perspective to either go, yeah, actually that's an amazing idea, let's go and do it. Or sometimes it's sort of to bring it back and go, actually, I don't think that's going to work because we come at things from a different perspective. We've always got that viewpoint. But I think, you know, very importantly there, we always have agreed on the big decisions within the business. You know, we've got the same attitude to risk, and actually when it's come to a big decision, we've always been on the same wavelength.
Yeah, without question. And again, those are the things you can't plan before you go into business, because you don't know what's going to come up. You don't know yourself how you deal with things, having never done them before. But yeah, we do match. We make decisions very quickly. You know, we know whether they're the right thing or not, having talked them through. So yeah, we're efficient in that way. And as Vicky says, we have the same approach to risk, which I think is hugely important.
Yeah, most definitely. I would agree.
And work ethic, actually. Work ethic is the other important one. We have never clock watched. We've never counted the number of days off or holiday somebody takes, because actually the important thing is our business, and we will both do as much as possible. We have never once had to, you know, to sort of have a word with each other about hours worked. It just has never occurred to us. And if that had been different, we would have had to give up after months. You couldn't have had a long-term relationship with someone.
We very often, when we've had a tight deadline, being like, okay, let's do a 6 o'clock Zoom call where we're sitting there with our pajamas on and
6 o'clock in the morning, that is.
but and actually that's another thing, we both prefer working in the morning to late at night, which actually is,
you don't get an answer right after 9 o'clock, but 5 or 6, that's fine.
That's been an unknown blessing.
I think it's really important, obviously, for you guys to have the same kind of values as well. And I guess thinking forward ahead, when you started the franchise, looking for franchisees, it's important, obviously, that they share and are similar to you guys in that way as well, that they'll carry that on in their businesses. So really interesting. So how you obviously, I think you franchised 3 years in, is that right? So
you
obviously grew the business during that time, and what was the crux that kind of you thought, right, something needs to change here, we need to potentially expand and grow, and what was that?
I think, and I still believe, even after all this time, that nobody has a passion for their business like a small business owner. And as it became obvious that we were able to expand because the business was out there, with the best will in the world, if you expand to a town 100 miles away and a member of staff is off sick, you can't support that customer. You can't go and network. You can't go and sort out their office if that had been booked. So it was really trying to understand whether it was an option. It was a huge discussion point for us, wasn't it, Vicky? And the year before we franchised, we kept coming up again, with the word franchise. We weren't hugely experienced. I didn't have any experience in it. Obviously, we researched because that's what we do. But it became fairly obvious that if this was an option, this would be an option that really did work quite well to replicate what we had around different parts of the country. And we talked about it under and hard for so long. And in the end, we went to a franchise show in Birmingham, and we went along and we said, right, this is going to be our decision-making day. We're going to go and talk to people. We're going to go and attend, talks, speak to consultants, speak to people that have done it, take advice, tell them what our business model is, and see. And we'll either come out knowing it's not the right solution for us, or we'll come out with it is. And we came out with the biggest. It's absolutely, it's replicable. The biggest thing for us was that in those days, speaking to some of the people that were there, the costs were so high. We thought it's an option, but it's not an option for us now. And we had a few pieces of good luck over the few months that followed that led us down the path of being quite a cost-effective way. And I think we know we're a low investment franchise. We know we're not going to be up there with the sort of 40, 50,000 pounds consultants that are going to set us up. Quite happy with that. There's a whole market out there. So we came away from that going, yeah, this is definitely the route for us. And that started us on that path.
Mm-hmm. So where did you initially hear about the concept of franchising? Can you remember where?
Was it friends, Vicky? I don't know.
I think we knew we wanted to expand.
Yeah.
And I think we were, as in our normal way, we'd like to research things. So we were looking at how we would expand. And I think, as Caroline said, if we'd have expanded across the UK with us as sort of head office with like employees across the UK, that would have been just such a nightmare. And we felt that we wanted to, as Caroline said, replicate the passion that we have for our business elsewhere, so that people give the best support to customers. So I think we probably started looking around, how has businesses expand? We did our research, came up with franchising as a route, and then started to investigate it further. And as part of that, it was going to things like franchise shows, speaking to people. I think we were really lucky that when we started our business, there was quite a lot of free support out there from the government. So we did lots of courses on everything when we started. So there was lots of people to talk to, there was lots of mentors. And then I think, once we made that decision and realised actually franchising was such a strong and good route for us, we haven't looked back since.
Oh, excellent. So what was your first step then? You decided franchising was the right route. What did you do next to get going?
We put an email out to our email newsletter list, which we were very lucky in that it turns out that somebody had been stalking us, looking at our business to try and look at setting up on their own. And we launched a franchise and said, we are franchising. We're looking for a pilot franchise. We've always been very, very clear that we wanted to, we weren't experts at this. We wanted to learn. So we were looking for our pilot. And we kind of put this email newsletter out there. I think, was it about an hour later, our pilot franchisee got in touch, to the point that we didn't have a prospectus. We didn't have anything behind it apart from
even an application.
Didn't have an application form. So she got in touch and said, I've been following your business. I had signed up to your newsletter. I'm really interested. So we had to very quickly put a prospectus together. She then came back and said, I'd like to apply. So we then quickly put an application form together. We do tell our franchisees sometimes with tasks you kind of got to fake it till you make it. We are always going to find a solution for a customer. We don't always know the route. Well, we did the faking it till you make it with that. So each stage we got to, we researched, talked, and came up with the next step. And actually, when we started our business, we spent 9 months preparing for what we thought would happen for our business, and it didn't always happen. So now we have a very different, and with the franchising, we had a very different approach. Look, put out what they need to know. When people need more information, we'll get that information. So it did work very well. Once we knew we had her signed up, she signed up in the May to start in the September. We then, of course, had to find solicitors for franchise agreements and all of that sort of thing. And then we had to start our operations and training manual. So that summer was an incredibly busy summer. We hit deadlines. That's what we do. So from May to September, we did nothing but put our whole business down, so that when we had the training course, which we also had to write, we had something to deliver, and we had a full package. So I think some people would do it the other way around. They get everything ready before they put it out there, which I guess is it must work for a lot of people. I would always advise doing what we did, because you never know if you're going to get somebody biting. It worked for us. It worked really well.
I think you can procrastinate for too long, and it is such a big step. And I think if we'd have, because I think we did originally say when we came back from the franchise show, I thought, gosh, this is just quite expensive. We're going to need to say, let's start writing a process a week, and of course we didn't, because you get caught up with other things. So when we had the deadline to get everything done and ready for our first pilot franchisees, then we made sure we were ready. So, I think sometimes you just got to take the bull by the horns and go for it. And, because you will make it happen, and it will be fine. And you've just got to realize that, it may be really hard work, but actually it's much better to go for it and get it done and get that first experience. So I'd say to anyone, just go for it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sometimes making a decision is better than no decision.
Absolutely right. Yeah.
And where was your pilot? Was she close to where you guys were? Or?
No, opposite end of the country. No, we were in Cheshire. She was down in Portsmouth. So
right, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I remember meeting her. We met her in Cheshire Oaks and Costa Coffee. It's all these things. You remember all these firsts. But it was, we immediately knew, and I think going back to before that, you want franchisees who've got the same values as you. And we immediately knew when we met her that she was going to be perfect, and that she had the same values, and actually she'd be the right pilot for us, that she would work with us, feedback what was working, what wasn't working,
that was really
and enable us to develop the franchise model, which is what we did over we took things really slowly. We had 2 pilots and we let them bed in, we changed things, we rewrote things, we adapted what we were doing over sort of 18 months, and then we knew actually, this is what we wanted to be able to deliver, this is what we want to be able to offer franchisees, and then we were able to push it out further. So we were cautious in that respect, that we didn't just say, right, we want to get 10, 20 franchisees in our first year. We wanted to get it right and be right for people. But once we got that right and we were happy with it, then we were able to sort of accelerate that growth. And obviously, our franchise model, what we offer to franchisees is training all the time. We're always looking for new and better ways of doing things. So, what someone, when they trained with us 4 years ago got is very different to what they get now, as you'd expect, because we're always looking at new and better ways of doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the world changes as well, doesn't it? So you've got to keep up with.
Doesn't it?
Get to this year later.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's really interesting. So you mentioned a few times that obviously you sort of like slightly adapted during those sort of 18 months of having a pilot. Were there any sort of quite big challenges or barriers that you guys had to overcome with that, or was it relatively sort of smooth?
I think we were really lucky with the pilots that we had.
Very lucky.
Two brilliant ladies. I think probably our biggest barrier, and I think learning from it, was that not to take it personally. So we everything, because it's your own business, everything is personal, and so ultimately when a franchisee leaves, for example, and we've been really fortunate that anyone who's left the business, it's not because the business hasn't worked, it's because of either a family reason, ill health, or someone's moving across the country, whatever it is. But initially, I think we both took it really personally. It was like, how can they not want to be a franchisee of ours? And obviously we don't want to lose anybody, but I think we've managed to detach ourselves and realize that actually, although to us our franchise is the most important thing, possibly to franchisees there are bigger things in their lives and things that we couldn't have predicted. So we couldn't predict someone might have ill health, or might get divorced, or might have to move across, might have coronavirus, pandemic that will hit. These are things that are completely out of our control, and I don't think that we took that into account when we launched the franchise. We thought that if we offered something that was amazing, that would be it. It would all work and they would stay with us. But actually, there's always other factors that are involved that will have an impact on how long a franchisee stays with us or how well they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you were setting up as well, how easy was it to sort of systemize, I suppose, what you guys did, to put it into a model for somebody else to follow? I imagine sort of creating a model to replicate is actually quite a difficult thing to do.
You see, I'm really process driven, so I would say actually I didn't find that an issue at all. Do you think, Vicky? I just it was absolutely replicating what we did.
I think we knew, because we'd run the business and in fact we still run our own area. Mid Cheshire, we have customers, we have a team. We look after customers. We do everything that a franchisee does. So we had all those processes there. We knew exactly, because we were doing them, we knew exactly what was the best way to do it. And I think, you know, as Caroline says, we then, once we'd got that structure right of how we would systemize it, and we would, you know, we had certain headings, so everything flowed in the same way. It was quite easy for us to sort of systemize it in that sense. But I think, you know, Caroline's real skill is that, you know, we have got those systems, but she is always looking and loves looking for a better process or a new system that can do something in a better way. So we never stand still. So our processes and systems are always being improved and updated. You know, and I think Caroline's got a real passion for that, and that's helped us really drive the business forward.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
I think working now with a lot of customers who perhaps are on a more creative side than we are, I can see that maybe if they were franchising their business, all of that process side and getting the processes and the model right may be more difficult, because that's not the way they're sort of, you know, their brain works in a very different way. They've got very different skills. So I think perhaps because we're the business that we are, that has been easier for us.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that then is where the consultants can come in and step in to help with that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They do helping
yeah.
people put it into order and systemize it too.
Yeah, I you know, my background, I'd come from a training manager, and IT, one of my roles was a training manager. So putting together training manuals is what I've done for years. It just wasn't any different, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on a little bit then, how did you find the leap from running your own business to then becoming leaders of this franchise and having to drive this franchise forward, not just for yourselves, but obviously for all these other people that have brought into the business and brought it to you guys?
It's odd, isn't it? When you look back, as it's happened, because we did have our own area, then we had our own area and 2 franchisees. So it was, you know, a bit of a mix. As it's grown and we've had more franchisees and we've stepped back from our own area more and employed more staff for that, to run that, I guess it's been so gradual that you almost don't notice it's happening. When you look back, we started a business because we wanted to do work for end customers, and now we very rarely do that work for end customers. And what is our day to day like? So totally different. But it has been so gradual. I think our day to day is, you know, we're looking for new solutions and new processes, but there's so much management or mentoring and coaching that, if I look at then and now, that's been the biggest surprise. I didn't expect that at all. It didn't even occur to us. That through the whole process, nobody ever mentioned that. It was all about systems, processes, models, finances, training. Never has anybody talked about what actually has turned into 80% of our time. So yeah, would you say, Vicky, that's been
I think that's right. I think that, you know, reflection, when you look back at it, has been a gradual transformation, and our roles have changed. I think as well we've grown, and we've got a team to support us, so that's enabled us to step back. So we have a fantastic support team who enable us to not to do the doing as much, and to spend more time helping to sort of develop the business. And this year, actually, we said, a bit ironically, because there's now a global pandemic and you can't go out, we wanted to go out more and actually engage more with people in the franchise world, in the franchise industry. So that's not necessarily, although actually it's probably been a bit easier because everything's then moved virtually. So we've just done it online. So I think we've made strategic decisions about our roles as we've gone on, and stepped back from certain things and got more involved with things. But because it's been a gradual evolution, it's sort of come quite naturally to us. And again, we found, you know, again, one of us likes to do something more on this side, one of us more likes to do the other side. So our roles are just evolving all the time because we know how we like to work, and we've got the support of a team to enable us to do that.
So what team members do you have at the minute then that help you with the franchise, and at what sort of stage did you bring them into the business?
So we've got Leanne, who's our training manager, and she is social media queen, process queen. She came in, gosh, probably about 3 or 4 years ago. I guess
first franchise
yeah.
team member, wasn't she?
Yeah. We brought her in at the point that our time, because of, you know, we were bringing in, interviewing, setting up, getting people started, mentoring as we do current franchisees. At the point our time got squeezed, we said, right, where are we best needed? And actually, by bringing her in, she is system queen. That was really able to help with the bringing new franchisees on, which at that point started to replicate sort of 3 times a year. So brought her on, and then a couple of years ago we brought in Becky, who does a lot of mentoring. So again, we got enough franchisees that our time was squeezed, even with Leanne doing all the training side. So Becky came in, and she's a real people person. So she works with the newbies a lot. So she's the first port of call for them. Bringing them on board, and then as they go through their life cycle as a franchisee, it's between myself, Vicky, and Becky that will mentor our franchisees. But she can spare the time in the initial sort of 3 to 6 months, that's when people really need a lot of help and support. She's the main port of call for there. So it's a good team. A solid team. We work really, really well together. And again, we know our strengths. Somebody will come up with a question. We know exactly who on the team is going to be able to support them.
So you mentioned your roles now are very much sort of like mentoring. So is that, I'm assuming obviously you work very closely with existing franchisees. Yeah. So is there anybody sort of responsible in the sort of more franchisee recruitment sort of role that deals with or specifically deals with sort of looking for new franchisees?
I guess that, if anything, has remained with Vicky and myself. So we are still that face of our business. We do have genuinely the first calls with people who have got questions, of which there are always many. So yeah, we are still. I think it'll be a while before I want to give that one away. Becky is there to help, and often we'll do a phone call, but it really is, it's still our baby.
I think it's it is very still personal to us. If we're bringing on a franchisee, we want them to be absolutely right for the business, and we know who we want to. It seems a bit corny, but we sort of, people talk about the Pink Spaghetti family, and we are all a really supportive, collaborative lot, and we've got some amazing franchisees. And we wouldn't want to bring somebody in that wasn't right for that environment. So we can teach people how to do a spreadsheet or how to do social media, all those sort of technical skills. They're all covered in our training and support. However, that person's got to be right. They've got to be able to represent the brand well. They've got to be able to network, talk to customers, and be the right fit for our network, and be that supportive, collaborative franchisee that everybody else is. So I think it's so important to us that, as Caroline says, it'd be a long time before we would step back from that side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's mirrored in a lot of other franchises as well that say the exact same thing. It's all about the values, I think, isn't it? Making sure that you're the right fit for your brand. And unfortunately, the downside of when you take somebody on, especially in the first few years, when they don't fit with your brand, and the headaches that can cause. So
absolutely.
Done the right way.
Absolutely.
And so, is there any particular area or sector where your franchisees come from, or is it a big myriad of different areas?
It's so broad, isn't it? We've got amazing people who've had corporate careers, from everything from legal to marketing to HR. We've got people who have been VAs as well. It is such a mix.
We've got head teachers, we've got police officers. Really varied.
We have it practically, and it's brilliant because all our franchisees are very collaborative. They share those past experiences and past knowledge. So we have a closed Facebook group where everybody chats, and sometimes someone will put a question on there, which is, it might be HR related or marketing related or whatever it is, and actually it's quite specialist. but you'll always find someone who'll go, oh yes, I've heard of that, or I've done that, or I can help you with that, or I can put you in touch with somebody. So we encourage franchisees to bring their sort of previous corporate lives with them to bring into the mix, and use those to support customers and the rest of the network. It's always amazing when we do new franchise training. We do something called Life in the Box, which is a sort of a bit of an icebreaker when people start in their first days of training, and we ask people to bring some items in a box that represents, tells us a bit about them. And oh my goodness me, the most interesting things that come out of this. I have never failed to be flabbergasted by what people have done in their lives, or where they've traveled, or what they've set up, or what they've done. It's absolutely amazing. So it's sort of a bit like our name. It's one of the best things we did. I think doing the Life in a Box is one of the best things we've done, because you really get to know them, and you really sort of see what amazing people our franchisees are.
Absolutely, that sounds so interesting. One to think about as well. But the strength of a franchise is definitely within its network, isn't it? So is there, you mentioned obviously you have like a closed Facebook group with all your franchisees. Is there anything else that you guys have done to really encourage the peer-to-peer sort of support between the franchisees?
I think the Facebook group is just so central to everything that we do. Conference, we do a lot. Our conference isn't just about teaching them new things and giving them new skills. It is so much about the networking, so that real relationships are built. And we never train one person on their own. It will always be between sort of 2 and 5 franchisees, because the relationship they build on training sticks with them. Often there are friendships made for life through those few days. So it's kind of the constant communication. And then in recent months we also have network-wide Zoom calls, so that people can come in and just chat about work, or whatever's going on in their life. I think it's really important. We do recognise that we are collaborative. People are in the end working on their own at home, and having that constant ways of communicating sets us apart from somebody setting up as a VA on their own, which I think would be an incredibly lonely life.
Absolutely, and I think we're all experiencing what that's like at the minute, aren't we?
Yeah. We also do working parties. So when we're looking to introduce a new service or something that we offer to people, we don't just sort of say, well, okay, we're going to go away and do it. We'll try to involve the franchisees as much as possible. So we've got several working parties going at the moment, looking at potential new services, something we could offer. So we get the buy-in from the franchisees and their perspective, because they're the ones that are going to be delivering it. So we want their views, and sometimes it can flag up, well, actually this could work or this couldn't work. But it helps to, again, that collaboration across the network. And then when we do roll it out, we'll probably do it as a pilot with a few more franchisees, and then roll it out full scale. So we're always working with our franchisees, to whether it's just as a chat or to sort of bring and develop the business.
Well, I mentioned obviously in the introduction, you've got 5 years of franchisee satisfaction, which is it's a survey run by Workforce, just for those that don't know, that the franchisees take every year, and it's anonymous, so they literally can give their exact feedback on how they think how the franchisors are doing, what the franchise is doing. So it's a really amazing thing to gain. So to get it 5 years in a row is brilliant. And what are your top tips then on keeping your franchisees happy and engaged with you?
Oh gosh.
Okay, it is a two-way process, and I think there is no point in us putting something out there that's not right for the business. Or we've all got the same aim. In the end, we're all running a business to make money, and we wouldn't put something out there that isn't going to be for that aim. And so I guess that we do. I'd like to think we communicate well. We give them reasons why we'd be doing things, but we also listen to them. And certainly the 5-star satisfaction is really important for us, because yes, it's great, we get a really high score, which it means the world to us. It's so important. But equally, they can put comments about things that they'd like to see, and we use that as a structure for our year ahead. Now, you can't please all of the people all the time. And sometimes one person will say one thing is really great and another person will say that's the thing that needs improving. You're never going to please everybody. But generally, we wouldn't ignore things that are right for the business. So yeah, we take that as a structure, and I guess we then report back at conference about our marks and what we've done about certain areas and how we're going to drive things forward, so they can see that they're listened to. We would be silly to ignore if something's right for the business. We would be silly to ignore it.
Yeah, and I think as well, you know, we hopefully franchisees can see that we're always trying to move the business forward. You know, we're always looking for better ways to do things, new services to offer, and we're always there to support and them in whatever the situation is. You know, when sort of the country went into lockdown, we spent absolutely hours and hours pulling information to get marketing material, ideas for them to do with their customers, to market their business, to keep their business going and to come out as an even stronger business. You know, so I think hopefully we really rose to the challenge. So when there's, you know, day to day, we're always there to support them, but when they really, really need it, we will always make sure we step up to the mark and deliver. And I think actually, you know, everybody would say that support over the last sort of 15 weeks of lockdown has really helped and supported them and enabled them to grow their business. And I think at the end of it, they'll have a stronger customer base.
I think that's, you know, you say top tips and for franchisee satisfaction. I think the support is important right throughout our business. When we started, and you were putting together the franchise agreements, and we were asked how much support are you going to give, how much support and training, and we said, well, unlimited. And we were told you're going to regret that. You're really going to regret that. And we kind of said, okay, well, we'll do it, and then we'll learn from our mistakes. But actually, it's been the best thing we did, because if somebody needs help and needs training and needs a screen share and wants to run something past you, then it's really important that they feel that they can do that, because then they learn and they grow, and they don't need that question answered next time. So there's obviously a very natural pattern that in the first sort of 3 to 6 months people need a lot more help, but actually there's always going to be a time where they're coming across something new, or they're going into a new stage of their franchise life cycle. So they might be an employer for the first time. That's often the time that we get back, you know, the phone calls and the emails, taking them through that stage. And then it may be staff issues that we have to sort out. But that unlimited support, we haven't changed. It is still unlimited. And maybe, you know, that's to do with the franchise satisfaction. I'd like to think it was.
Mm-hmm. So you, as well, this year, I think, along with everything else that's happened, have decided to go international as well. So could you talk us through that decision, what that even means, and where you guys are planning on sort of expanding into?
Do you want to take this one, Vicky, or would you like me to?
So I think as part of the whole sort of lockdown experience, we had to revisit how we deliver our training, and I think that's probably led us to sort of being able to sort of take it internationally. We'd always wanted to go international at some point, but it was always a sort of a longer term aspiration. But with lockdown, we normally would have, for new franchisees, we deliver 5 days face-to-face training. And obviously we couldn't do that over the last 100 days because we couldn't get together. But we had 5 new franchisees ready to go and waiting. In fact, we signed 4 of those 5 within lockdown, which was amazing. So we're really proud about that. But we obviously needed to be able to deliver something which was equally as good, and actually I think is better with hindsight. So, you know, we're experts at doing training virtually because we do it all the time with existing franchisees. So we sort of took training that we currently offered face to face. We found a new way of doing it, a new system, which actually is really, really brilliant. And so we've now got a training for new franchisees, which will be part sort of self. Basically, they can get on with it at their own pace. So everything's sort of a kind of setup phase, and we've got a phase 1 where it's live webinars. And some sort of working by themselves, but it's a sort of real mixture, but it's all remote. And then we will finish off the training with 2 days face to face to sort of bring everything together and to complement what they've already learned. And we actually realized this was such a much better structure. It enabled our franchisees to learn at their own pace and take things in a better way. Sometimes franchisees, when they're starting, want to combine finishing off a role, or they've got other commitments. And actually by that sort of those early phases before they do the face-to-face is at a much more gradual pace, so they can combine other things. And we realized, actually, we've got this system and we've got this online training. Why couldn't we just suddenly take it to sort of outside the UK? So we looked at lots of different options, ruled out doing it as a franchise outside the UK, and actually doing it as a license. We've got a really good sort of structure of training to give people outside of the UK in a license model. We're literally, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we kind of launched it. We're just waiting to see what goes. We've had a few inquiries. We had actually a brilliant conversation with a lady yesterday in America who's very interested. But again, it'll be a pilot. We're offering 5 pilots because, like we did with franchising, we want to make sure we get it right. So we're looking for people who want to do the license but are prepared to, the fact they're going to feed back to us. It's going to be a sort of evolving structure to it. But also an exciting thing to be part of at the beginning. So yeah, we're really, really excited. I think there's loads of opportunities still within the UK, and we're never going to compromise the support we give to our existing franchisees.
That's always going to be our priority.
Yeah,
we're not changing.
But actually we now know, we can see through the online stuff that we've been able to develop, that we can actually roll things out outside of the UK a lot quicker than we initially anticipated. And again, I think it's a bit like with franchising. We said we were going to do it, maybe in 5 years' time, sort of thing. Actually, we got the opportunity and we said, well, why not? Let's do it. So we pulled it all together. We got it out there. If someone wants to go ahead, we will then get everything else behind it ready. So it's kind of, if you procrastinate and wait too long, things will never happen. So it's a really exciting time. Franchising we're getting so many UK inquiries at the moment. I think people are really excited about this as a virtual franchise, because people have been working at home. They've reevaluated their sort of lifestyle and what they're doing at the moment. Might be redundancy or whatever it is. So we're getting loads of inquiries for that, which is really exciting. And also at the same time, we were able to sort of find new markets outside of the UK. So I think we're both really excited at the sort of what's ahead of us.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that overseas it's going to be a license. Would you mind just giving a really quick overview of the sort of like what the difference is between why it's not a franchise, why it's a license? Because there's people watching that might not realise what the difference is.
So obviously there are going to be more qualified people to give proper descriptions, but if from our point of view, if we went into franchise, the amount of support and day-to-day running of the businesses that we do in the UK, if we were to do that in another country, franchise model, if we did it as robustly as we do in the UK, is very much more expensive. We are a low investment franchise, and actually we don't have the control because of the distance for how people for how people are running their business. So for us, licensing is it gives us the ability to train, to give them the use of the brand, but if they wanted to run their business in a different way to franchising, then they're going to be able to.
Gotcha. Yeah, okay, brilliant. So we've obviously kind of like started to touch upon the coronavirus situation. So when that obviously first started to happen, what was going through you guys, your heads, and
I believe same as the rest of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well. I think I think we sat there. I think we were going to go to a franchise show the week before in Birmingham, and we actually decided not to go in the end because the talk was it probably wasn't a good idea. But then very quickly it was suddenly, right, okay, we're in lockdown now, and what's this going to mean? And I think we had to get our heads around it very quickly so that we could support and reassure franchisees very quickly. We couldn't actually have the luxury of panicking about it. We had to say, okay, right, what are we going to do? What can we have? Can we help them? How can we communicate? I think we did an initial video out.
Yeah, we did that week. We did a number of videos, really just get across to franchisees that things were changing. I mean, that first couple of weeks there was such panic across the country and disbelief and well, what can we do, what's happening? And so I think at that point, whereas we don't often do video, it was really important to come across and say, look, we all support you, we don't know what's going on, we will, you know, communicate. And actually, how important has communication been throughout this for all businesses? And I think, you know, there were a lot of people that first couple of weeks where, you know, in the end we support small businesses, and small business customers panicked and they stopped services in a lot of cases, paused services, and so people were thinking, oh my gosh, is my business going to survive? And actually, after that first couple of weeks, a lot of people instantly came back because they realised that they did need to communicate. There was going to be financial help in a lot of cases from government, and so it was a very, very changing picture. So yeah, it was that 2 weeks. Obviously, it's been a weird 3 months, but that 2 weeks was extraordinary and tiring, and just getting stuff out there. You know, we plan marketing like everybody weeks, months ahead. And suddenly we were reacting to stuff that was happening hours, you know, every hour. So it's not particularly a couple of weeks I'd like to repeat, but I think a benefit for why be a franchisee, actually, because we did not stop, our team did not stop to ensure that our franchisees had the most up-to-date information that was relevant to them, with up-to-date marketing material, websites that were going to help them, lots of communication, lots of things to suggest to clients, which gained them business. So actually, I think I do feel there was a real strength there. You didn't have 50 people trying to come up with marketing and ideas and what's going on. They didn't have to waste their time. You had us doing everything and pushing it out there. And that's when we did start this sort of network-wide Zoom call on a weekly basis, just to give people this sounding board of, you know, they're not at home on their own. They've got husbands and kids and everything, and just that sounding board to be able to talk through issues and problems and successes. So yeah,
and share ideas. Some of our best ideas are things that we then rolled out to the network came from those, you know, from franchisees and their ideas that they fed back to us. So it was a collaborative process throughout the way, but I think we always felt it was really important that we led the way and gave people the confidence and the reassurance that actually it would be okay. And we're really starting to see, you know, businesses are coming back. We're getting new businesses, new customers as well, because, you know, things have changed, and our franchisees have kept in touch with their existing customers, but also have had the opportunity to go out and network with a whole host of new people. And I think, you know, as I said, our franchisees' businesses are probably in a stronger position now than they ever were.
Yeah, because we've been experts at working virtually for years. That's what we do, and suddenly everybody's going, oh, this Zoom is really quite good. Well, you know, that's how we've run our business for a very long time. And at the beginning you asked, what do we do for our customers? And one of the things is we do things that people don't know how to do. And suddenly all our customers were finding they needed to find different ways of doing things and different ways of communicating, because they didn't have a shop that was opening or whatever it was, or they needed to get online. Well, again, that's what our franchisees do. So suddenly we had roles with customers that they hadn't used us for before. So it's been a really interesting time from that point of view, and seeing small businesses just absolutely fly as they've changed very, very quickly has been brilliant, really good.
It's inspirational, actually. I think some of the amazing businesses that we've seen come out of this. Is just, you know, the entrepreneurial spirit of people and ingenuity and resilience has just been really, really inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I think in the franchise world as well, especially just seeing how all the franchises have adapted and taken a lot of what they do online has just been absolutely amazing to see.
Yeah. I think we felt very fortunate over the last 3 months. We are the type of franchise that we are because we're already used to doing everything virtually. And yes, there was a blip. April was very definitely a blip, but then it's just sort of picked up again, whereas I think, you know, so many businesses that have been totally restricted, we have felt very fortunate.
Absolutely. Do you think being franchisors made any difference to you guys personally as people, having something to concentrate on, you know, that you needed to do all this stuff for your franchisees? Did that make it harder or easier?
I think it's difficult. You hear over the last sort of 3 months, you hear people being bored and having all this time on their hands, and
Yeah.
you know, suddenly the opposite, isn't it? When you're in a role where it's carrying on, suddenly all your holidays have been cancelled, and several weekends were cancelled for work. So I think it's, you know, we just adapt. We weren't doing the things we were planning to do this 3 months, but we were doing lots of other things, and it's been constant, and we're doing what we love doing in the end. So that's been good. I think it does show how resilience gets people through. We always see that in our business. I think in any small business, all franchisors must see this, that resilience is so important. But yeah, it's made,
I have to say, it's made lockdown go very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know where the time has gone. So there's never been a dull day.
I wouldn't mind being furloughed for a week just to sit back. No, it's been fun. It's been a challenge, and fast paced, and that's what we like. So, yeah.
Do you think this has been the biggest challenge so far of the business in the last 11 years?
That's a good question. GDPR was one close,
Oh,
close one. But I suppose it has. We've had to just, I suppose it has.
I guess we haven't really had time to reflect on it yet.
No.
So in it, it's difficult to, you know, I guess in 6 months' time when we reflect back,
maybe
the year, we'll probably go, oh my goodness me, you know, how did we do all of that, and how did we, you know, it would. So probably, but I guess at the moment we've not had that opportunity.
We haven't got out yet.
And I also think, although it has been probably the hardest, it's probably been the most rewarding and productive, because you know we've sort of pivoted things. We've launched international. We've changed our training for a much better training model. So actually, there's some amazing things that have come out of it. So although it's the hardest, it's probably been the best in many ways.
You know, we've recruited more franchisees in this period than we ever have done, so that's been a challenge. Our support team have absolutely stepped up to all these new deadlines and new systems. So I think yes, we will reflect. Perhaps it will be the most challenging, but it's been good.
Yeah,
just tiring.
You need a holiday.
I do need a holiday. Yeah.
Just within the UK. So thinking back, reflecting on your whole business career as a whole, rather than just this short for 3 months, has there been any other sort of nice surprises, I suppose you could say, that have come up along the way that you were not expecting, but similar to the coronavirus, but that have maybe actually turned things?
I think for me personally, I think I wasn't expecting how much franchisees would come out themselves and develop. You know, I think when people join us, we you know, some people come very confident and, you know, have lots of knowledge. Other people might not have, you know, they might have had time off to have kids, or they come from a completely different sector and their confidence is a bit lower. And actually seeing people take their business from scratch and build it up to be a really successful business, and having their own team, having amazing customers, and to see their confidence change, and they really come out of themselves. And I don't think when we were thinking about franchising, we ever thought about that side of things at all. And I think that's working with these franchisees and seeing the difference in who they are and the businesses that they create, it's been really, really inspiring. And we've met some amazing people along the way.
Yeah, I agree that people are forced to get out of their comfort zone, and you see the nervousness and the doubts, the imposter syndrome in them. We see it over and over again. And you know, what we see of them is they're perfectly capable, but they doubt themselves. And when people go out of their comfort zone, it's amazing. Like Vicky says, to see them grow, you literally see them grow as people.
And people who thought, you know, we have sometimes people who thought about doing our franchise for ages, you know, and they say, I've been stalking you as a business, and or they sort of come and they apply and then they think, oh no, I can't do it, I can't make that leap, and then they come back to us again a year later and go, I just can't stop thinking about it. If I don't do it, I'm going to regret it. And you know, and so it's just really brilliant to bring these people on and to as I say, to see them sort of make a really truly fantastic business that works for them as well in terms of their lifestyle, their commitments, the flexibility. Yeah, really, really, really fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think that's impacted on you as well, sort of individually, and how potentially you've grown and developed as well over the many years?
So many occasions where we've gone out of our comfort zone. This is one of them. So many occasions, countless.
I think having the support of each other, when we know we're going out the comfort zone, we can sort of, you know, buoy each other up and go, actually, it's going to be all right, and we're going in it together. And I think that has helped us, you know, get through those really difficult times where we are pushed to our limits, having each other to support each other.
Like those first few networking sessions that you went to together.
Yeah.
It is absolutely. It's just different. Yeah, support of different types and different requirements, but the support is still there very much. Yeah, very much.
I've been doing lots of learning about fear and things like that, and I think like the fear never goes away.
No.
The saying is, you just got to do it anyway, and time it'll just, you know, it's just a different thing, and you just keep pushing through and pushing through.
Yeah, you know, your comfort zone just gets bigger, doesn't it? So it's you know, it's been interesting. You just would never have predicted the things we've learned and the things we're going to do. It's been an amazing journey. I feel very fortunate to have done it.
Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you for sharing it with us. I just have one final question, which is, what would you say to a lady that is thinking about growing her business through franchising? What would your tips be to her?
I would say do it, research it, and use franchisors that have been through it. You know, we speak to people thinking about doing it, to give them a bit of enthusiasm, a bit of inside knowledge, to answer any questions, because we've got nothing to hide. So you use the people that have been through it. There are some amazing franchisors out there who are perfectly happy to support and mentor and give a bit of help. So use it. Definitely use it and do it.
I think I would say as well, don't forget your values, stick to your values, what you know, there's a reason why you set your business up and the values of your business. And just because it's going to grow and have other people within it, you know, you don't need to compromise on those values, because that's actually what makes your business special. So I think, you know, standing firm to those and not forgetting those over the years is really important too.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so that's the end really of our conversation. Thank you again for sharing your journey with us. If anybody watching does want to know more about Pink Spaghetti, or to speak more to Caroline and Vicky, then you can, as they said, just Google Pink Spaghetti. Or I follow them on Instagram, just because I love their names. Just share with everyone what your names are on Instagram.
I'm the Pink Boss Lady.
And I'm the other Pink Boss Lady.
I love it. So thank you everybody for watching. If you are interested in learning more about growing a business through franchising, as Caroline said, please you know, speak to other franchisors that have been there and done that. And one way you can do that is through EWiF. You can contact us at info@ewif.org, or go on the website and find out when your next online EWiF meeting is, and you can join the first meeting absolutely free of charge, and speak to lots of different people within the industry, and especially franchisors who have already been there and done it. So that's it, everybody. Take care for now, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.